In ancient Rome, the most powerful senators didn't attend every social gathering, didn't respond to every invitation, and didn't make themselves available for every petitioner who requested an audience. This wasn't laziness, it was pricing. A senator whose presence was automatic carried no weight when he arrived. A senator who appeared selectively turned every appearance into an event. Cicero wrote about this as a deliberate strategy of political influence, that a man's authority is measured not by how often he is present, but by how much his absence is felt. The senators who were everywhere were background noise. The ones who appeared only when the moment warranted it were treated as signals. Their arrival meant something was significant. Their absence meant something wasn't. They didn't build influence by being generous with their time. They built it by making their time expensive to access. And the principle underneath that strategy hasn't changed in 2,000 years. It's running right now, in your career, your relationships, and every room you walk into. You've just been operating on the wrong side of it. Most people have been taught that respect is earned through effort. Be reliable, be present, be the person who shows up without being asked. Give freely, forgive quickly. Make yourself available, and the world will reward your generosity with the respect it deserves. That is a beautiful philosophy and a catastrophic pricing strategy, because what it actually teaches the people around you is that your reliability can be assumed, your presence requires no investment to maintain, and your attention is a resource so abundant that wasting it carries no consequence. You didn't earn respect. You subsidized access to yourself until respect became structurally impossible. And the worst part isn't that they don't value you. It's that you've started agreeing with their assessment, because every time you accept a low price, your own internal valuation drops to match. This is what being cheap actually means. It's not a financial term. It's a signal that runs through every dimension of how you operate. Your time, your attention, your forgiveness, your emotional availability, your willingness to accept terms you didn't set. Cheapness tells the world one thing: this person does not believe their own inventory is worth protecting, and the world will always agree with that assessment, not out of cruelty, out of efficiency. People have limited resources, time, energy, attention, and they invest those resources where the return feels proportional to the cost. When you're free, the return feels worthless regardless of what you're actually offering. When access to you costs something, the return feels significant regardless of whether anything changed except the price tag. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must above all things avoid being despised, and that he is despised when he is seen as changeable, frivolous, effeminate, irresolute, or cheap, and that a prince should guard against this as against a reef. He listed cheapness alongside cowardice, not because giving is weak, but because unconditioned giving signals that the giver doesn't believe their own resources are scarce enough to protect. A prince who gives freely trains his court to expect access without investment, and a court that invests nothing, values nothing it receives. The generosity doesn't register as generosity. It registers as desperation dressed in better clothes. Here's how the loop works. You start by being available, genuinely, from a good place. You respond quickly. You adjust your schedule. You forgive without repair. And each act of unconditional availability sends market data to the people receiving it. This person's time is free. This person's forgiveness carries no cost. This person adjusts without requiring adjustment in return. People don't process this consciously. They process it the way they process every price signal, automatically, as an update to the model they use to determine how much effort to invest in you. By 6 months, the rate is set, and raising it later feels like a bait and switch. Not because you don't deserve more, but because the market has already categorized you. That's why it's so much harder to get respect back than to never lose it. The dark part isn't the external consequence. The dark part is what cheapness does to you internally. Every time you give something away that should have cost something, you register the transaction. Not consciously, deeper than that. Your system logs the exchange. I offered something real. The return was nothing. And after enough of those transactions, your own belief in your value adjusts downward. Not because the evidence supports it, but because the accumulated weight of zero return exchanges rewrites the internal ledger. You stop expecting reciprocity. You stop feeling entitled to investment from others. You start interpreting the absence of respect as normal, as your baseline, your lane, the level of treatment you're built for. That internal adjustment is the real damage. The external disrespect was just the market confirming a price you set. The internal collapse is you accepting that the price was accurate. Machiavelli observed that men judge more by appearances than by reality. A prince who appears strong is treated as strong regardless of the truth, while one who appears cheap is treated as disposable regardless of his actual value. The signal you send about how your resources should be valued is what people respond to, before they ever evaluate the resources themselves. A senator who arrives selectively is assumed to have competing demands. A person who is always available is assumed to have nothing better to do. Neither assumption requires evidence. Both create the reality they describe. So what does this look like practically? It starts with the smallest unit of your attention, the text message. The speed of your reply is price information. An instant response to a non-urgent message tells the other person that their claim on your time outranked everything else in your life at that moment. A considered delay, not a game, not a manipulation, just the natural rhythm of someone whose time has competing demands, communicates that access to your attention isn't automatic. You don't need to announce this. The behavior is the announcement, and the way people treat the next interaction will be calibrated to the price they just received. It extends to your forgiveness. If your pattern is to forgive fast and return to normal without requiring repair, you haven't been merciful. You've been teaching people the cost of wronging you is zero. That access to your warmth restores automatically regardless of what they did. That's not a relationship. That's a clearance rack. It extends to your presence. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should never let himself be taken for granted, for this breeds contempt. If you attend every event, fill every silence, say yes before being asked, and adjust around people who never adjust around you, you've made your presence free. And free things get treated the way free things have always been treated. Used without thought, consumed without appreciation, discarded without guilt. The correction isn't manipulation. It's not withdrawal games or manufactured scarcity. It's the decision, made once, maintained daily, that your time, your attention, your forgiveness, and your presence are inventory. An inventory given away for nothing teaches the market that nothing is what it's worth. Stop being the first to reach out every time. Stop forgiving at a speed that makes the offense irrelevant. Stop filling rooms with your availability before anyone has had the chance to feel your absence. The senators who built real power in Rome didn't do it by being everywhere. They did it by making every appearance cost something, even if the cost was only the awareness that they could have been somewhere else. That cost was the difference between influence and background noise. between being valued and being consumed, between a presence that meant something and a presence that meant nothing, because it was never, not once, in short supply. You don't get to be cheap and respected. Pick one.